The Galactic Coalition training station orbited above the blue-green planet of Voria Prime. It was a place where young soldiers from 100 different species came to learn how to survive together. Every month, the instructors ran something called the Survival Drill, a huge simulation meant to test fear, courage, and teamwork. Most recruits dreaded it. The drill was designed by humans, those strange beings from a dangerous world called Earth. To most aliens, Earth was a nightmare planet full of deadly weather, wild animals, and diseases. Yet somehow humans had not only survived there, they had thrived. When the announcement came that a group of humans would be joining the new drill, the entire station buzzed with rumors. "They say they can run through acid rain without fear," whispered a small insectoid cadet named Click. "They say they fight predators with sticks," said another. "No, I heard they swim in frozen water for fun," muttered Rena, a young reptilian trainee from the planet Hyreth. Her green scales flickered with anxiety. If that's true, they must be crazy. In the training hall, hundreds of recruits gathered. The room echoed with nervous chatter. The walls shimmered with holographic maps of jungles, deserts, and alien terrains. A metallic voice spoke through the speakers. "Attention, cadets. Today's simulation will test your ability to remain calm under threat. Your mission: survive and reach the extraction point. Duration 12 hours. You will be grouped into mixed teams. Good luck." When the doors opened, silence fell. 3 humans stepped in. They were not what most expected. There were no glowing eyes or heavy armor. Just 3 ordinary-looking people in simple gray uniforms. One was tall and broad-shouldered, Captain Mason. The second, a lean man with a sharp smile, Sergeant Lee. The third was younger, maybe barely 20, Cadet Aaron Wells. They walked calmly, scanning the room as if they were out for a casual stroll. Mason looked at the silent crowd and smiled. "Morning, everyone. Ready to have some fun?" No one answered. The aliens just stared. "Fun?" whispered Rena to Click. "He called this fun?" Sergeant Lee looked around. "You all look nervous. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Just remember, don't die too early." Some of the recruits gasped. Others blinked in confusion, not sure if it was a joke. The humans just chuckled and began checking their gear. Their calmness was strange, almost unsettling. Finally, the AI voice said, "Simulation beginning in 3, 2, 1. The world around them flashed white and then changed. They were suddenly standing in a dense alien jungle. The air was thick and hot. Strange sounds echoed from the shadows. Trees with glowing veins rose above them. The ground trembled now and then, like something large was moving below. Click's wings fluttered nervously. I don't like this," he whispered. "Then you're in the wrong drill," Mason said with a grin. "Stay close, team." They started walking through the misty forest. Thunder rolled in the distance. Every few minutes the sound of growls came from somewhere unseen. Rena's tail flicked with fear. "Captain Mason," she said softly, "do you not feel afraid?" He turned to her and smiled. "Of course I do. But fear doesn't stop us. It keeps us sharp. Fear's a tool. You just have to know how to use it." Aaron, the young cadet, knelt to study the dirt. Tracks, big creature. Heavy legs. Probably slow. She stood and pointed north. "If we go this way, we'll avoid it." Click blinked. "You can track from just that?" "Sure," Aaron said simply. "We learned it as kids. Earth's full of things that like to chase you." The aliens exchanged nervous looks. These humans spoke of danger like it was normal. And maybe for them it was. They moved deeper into the jungle. The rain began, heavy and cold. Visibility dropped. Many of the recruits shivered and tried to cover their heads, but the humans didn't seem to care. They walked straight through the storm, laughing. "Reminds me of home," Lee said. "Only less thunder." At one point, the ground suddenly cracked open ahead of them. A pit appeared, filled with writhing vines. Click froze, too scared to move. One vine snapped toward him like a whip. Mason grabbed his shoulder and pulled him back in time. "See? That's why you never daydream in a survival zone." Click stammered. How did you move so fast?" "Experience," Mason said simply. "We've been dodging worse things since childhood." Hours passed. They crossed rivers, climbed rocks, and avoided creatures that hunted by sound. Whenever someone panicked, the humans spoke calmly. "Breathe," Aaron would say. "Fear makes noise. Noise brings trouble." When a storm of glowing insects descended, the aliens screamed and ran for cover. But Mason only waved his hand through the air. Non-lethal, he said. Pretty, though. After the insects passed, the aliens peeked out, confused. How could anyone stay so calm? Near the 8th hour, they reached an open valley. The extraction beacon was still miles away. Suddenly, a deep roar shook the ground. From the forest behind them came a massive creature, four-legged, armored, eyes glowing red. The recruits froze. Click dropped his scanner. Rena whispered, "We're going to die." The creature charged. The aliens scattered in terror. But the humans didn't run. "Aaron, smoke!" Mason shouted. Aaron threw 2 small capsules into the dirt. White smoke burst out, covering the field. Lee raised his rifle and fired stun bursts at the creature's eyes, not to kill, but to blind it. Mason ran in a wide circle, shouting to distract it. "Hey! Over here, big guy." The monster roared and turned toward the captain. Mason rolled aside as it slammed into a boulder. The humans moved in perfect coordination. Quick, calm, precise. Within seconds, they had trapped the creature in a pit using terrain and smoke. When the dust cleared, the recruits stared in silence. Mason dusted off his hands. "See, easy." Click's antennae twitched. "You call that easy?" Lee grinned. "You should see our field trips." The group laughed nervously, half in awe, half in disbelief. Finally, after 12 long hours, the extraction beacon came into sight. They reached it just as the sky simulation began to fade. The AI voice echoed again. "Simulation complete. Team Bravo, successful extraction." All other teams failed. Everyone turned to look at the humans. Every other team had panicked or been eliminated early in the simulation. Only Mason's group had survived. The alien instructors appeared in holographic form, clapping. "Excellent performance, Team Bravo. Impressive coordination." Mason nodded politely. "Thank you, sir. My team did great." Rena looked down at her trembling hands. "I thought I was brave," she whispered. "But you humans, you're different." Mason smiled. "Different? Maybe, but you did fine. You kept going. That's what matters." After the drill ended, as they walked out of the simulation chamber, the aliens couldn't stop whispering among themselves. "Did you see how they faced that beast? They didn't even scream. They laughed in the storm." Rena walked beside Aaron. "Why weren't you afraid?" she asked quietly. Aaron looked thoughtful. "We were afraid. But humans don't let fear control them. Where we come from, fear is everywhere. It rains fire, freezes oceans, shakes the ground. You either face it, or you stop living." Rena nodded slowly. For the first time, she understood why the galaxy called them DEATHWORLDers. It wasn't about how deadly their planet was. It was about the kind of spirit it built inside them. As the team entered the debriefing hall, the lights dimmed. The instructors began discussing scores, but Rena's mind was elsewhere. She kept remembering the humans' calm faces in the storm, their laughter when danger came, and the way they turned fear into focus. She looked at them and whispered to herself, if this was just a drill, what would they be like in a real war? Captain Mason turned slightly, hearing her words. He smiled faintly. "You don't want to know," he said kindly. "But if that day comes, you'll be glad we're on your side." The next morning, the Galactic Coalition training station was buzzing with noise. News of the humans' flawless survival spread like fire through the halls. Cadets whispered in every corridor. Some were amazed, others were frightened. "Did you hear?" One insectoid cadet said. "Team Bravo finished the drill without losing a single member." Another added, "They faced a Class T predator and lived. No one has ever done that." The story grew with every telling, and soon the humans had become something close to legend. Inside the command observation room, a group of high-ranking officers watched the replay of the simulation. The giant holographic screen showed Captain Mason's team moving through the jungle, fast, silent, confident. Every movement looked precise, like they had trained together for years. Commander Virek, a tall avian with silver feathers, crossed his wings. "Unbelievable," he said. "They didn't hesitate once. Not even when that creature charged them." Dr. Lyra, a scientist from the Council's Psychology Division, leaned forward. Their heart rates barely rose above normal. Their adrenaline response was controlled. They acted as if fear doesn't exist. Virek shook his head. "Fear always exists. It's part of survival." "Not for humans," Lyra replied softly. "At least not the way it works for us." They watched again as Mason stood laughing in the storm, his voice calm, his commands sharp. Lyra turned to the commander. I think we need to study them more closely. Their reaction to danger may hold secrets useful to the entire coalition. Virek frowned, or dangerous to it. Down in the cafeteria, Mason, Lee, and Aaron sat at a long table with trays of steaming food. Around them, aliens pretended not to stare but failed miserably. Feels like a zoo, Lee muttered, taking a bite of his ration bread. Everyone's looking like we're some kind of experiment. Mason chuckled. That's because we are in a way. They've never seen people treat a survival drill like a morning jog. Aaron sipped her drink. Do you think we scared them? Probably, Mason said, smiling. But that's not a bad thing. Fear can teach respect. Rena and Click entered the cafeteria carrying their own trays. They hesitated for a moment before walking toward the humans. Mason waved them over.
Hey, you two, sit down.
You earned it. The two aliens joined them, still unsure. Rena looked nervous. Captain, we wanted to thank you. Without your leadership, we would have failed. Mason nodded. You didn't quit, and that's what matters. Click's wings fluttered. But how do you stay so calm? You act like danger is nothing, Lee laughed. It's not nothing. We just learned to face it early. On Earth, you don't have a choice. The planet keeps trying to kill you, but you keep living. Eventually, you stop worrying and start thinking. Aaron nodded. Our teachers used to say fear is a teacher too. Listen to it, but never obey it. The aliens stared at her, impressed. To them, that sounded like wisdom from a philosopher. Before they could say more, a small drone floated over the table. A calm voice spoke from it. Captain Mason, Sergeant Lee, Cadet Wells, please report to Council Chamber 3 for debriefing. Mason sighed. Here we go. The big talk. The council chamber was a wide circular room filled with holographic displays. High-ranking officers sat around a glowing table. As the humans entered, the room grew quiet. Commander Virek stood. Captain Mason, your team completed a simulation designed to test fear and survival. You were not expected to succeed? Mason raised an eyebrow. We like breaking expectations, sir. Some officers exchanged glances. They weren't sure if he was joking or serious. Dr. Lyra spoke next. Your team's reaction under stress was unusual. Your heart rates remained stable, your focus was perfect, and none of you showed panic. How is that possible? Mason looked thoughtful. Because fear doesn't help us survive. It clouds judgment. On Earth, we learned that quick thinking and teamwork matter more than panic. Lyra leaned forward. But your planet is known to be extremely hostile. Poisonous plants, deadly weather, predators. How can a species evolve to find calm in such chaos? Mason smiled faintly. By adapting. Our ancestors didn't have armor or claws, just brains and courage. We had to be smart or we'd die. After millions of years, fear became something we manage, not something that controls us. Virek frowned. Do you not feel it at all? Oh, we feel it, Lee said. We just don't freeze. We move anyway. The room fell silent. The simplicity of the answer made everyone uneasy. Lyra turned to the holographic display. Commander, look at this data. Their stress signals spiked only when protecting others, not when facing personal danger. They react stronger to someone else being at risk. That's backwards, said Virek. Most species prioritize self-preservation. Mason shrugged. That's humanity. We protect each other. Fear doesn't stop us. It gives us a reason to act. Later that night, Rena and Click sat in their quarters, rewatching the simulation footage on their data pads. Rena paused the screen at the moment Mason faced the charging beast. Look at him, she said softly. He's standing right in front of it, shouting. I can't understand how anyone could do that. Click nodded slowly. Maybe that's why their world is called a death world. It made them strong. Rena looked thoughtful. No, it made them fearless. Outside their window, the stars shimmered. Somewhere among them, Earth orbited quietly, home to the strange species that had changed how the galaxy saw courage. Meanwhile, Dr. Lyra sat in her private lab, studying the humans' biometrics again. She played the data on a loop, trying to find something, anything, that explained their calmness. Every other species reacted to stress with panic, flight, or paralysis. Humans reacted with planning and humor. She recorded a note into her log. Observation. Human psychology seems designed for survival under impossible conditions. The more intense the threat, the sharper their focus becomes. They appear to use fear as fuel rather than weakness. Suddenly her console beeped. Commander Virek was calling. Doctor, he said through the hololink. The council wants a full report by tomorrow. They are concerned. Concerned about what? she asked. Virek's voice dropped low. If humans can stay calm in any situation, they may also be dangerous in war. A soldier who doesn't fear death is hard to control. Lyra frowned. But they're allies. For now, Virek said. But we must understand them better before they decide what ally means. The screen went dark, leaving Lyra alone with her thoughts. For the first time, she wondered if studying humans was safer than befriending them. In the human quarters, the mood was light. Mason and Lee played cards while Erin read reports on her tablet. Lee looked up. So what do you think they'll say tomorrow? That we're heroes or that we're scary? Both, Mason said simply. They'll admire us, then they'll worry about us. It always goes that way. Erin frowned. You think they see us as a threat? Mason nodded slowly. They don't understand us yet. Fearless things make others uneasy. But it's fine. We'll keep showing them that we're not here to dominate. We're here to help. Erin smiled. Help by terrifying them? Mason laughed. If that's what it takes. The next morning, a formal report was sent to the Galactic Council headquarters. It contained everything: biological data, emotional analysis, and field behavior. The summary read, humans exhibit an extraordinary level of control over fear. They display calmness and rationality in extreme danger. Their teamwork and instinct for protection make them uniquely effective in survival scenarios. However, their lack of panic may also mean they can act decisively in situations where others would hesitate. When the report reached the Council's central chamber, the room fell silent after reading it. One elder delegate spoke softly. If this is what they call a drill, what happens when they face a real enemy? No one answered. Outside, the stars shone quietly. Somewhere, humans were laughing, training, and preparing for another challenge. They didn't know that the galaxy had just started to fear them. Not for what they might do, but for what they already were. The DEATHWORLDers had shown no fear. And the galaxy would never see them the same way again. 2 days after the famous survival drill, the Galactic training station was still buzzing with talk about the humans. Their calmness, bravery, and strange humor under danger had become a legend among cadets. Some admired them, others were unsettled by them, but not everyone was pleased. Inside the high command chamber, a secret meeting was held. The large circular room was dark, and only the faint blue glow of the holographic screens lit the faces around the table. Commander Virek stood at the center, wings folded tightly. They passed a drill that no one was meant to pass, he said firmly. The Council is demanding answers. How can 3 humans outperform entire teams of trained recruits? Dr. Lyra, sitting beside him, hesitated. Maybe it's not something to fear, Commander. Maybe it's something to learn from. Learn? Virek's feathers bristled. Or be replaced by. What if they decide they no longer need us? Lyra sighed. You think too darkly. The humans are our allies, perhaps, Virek replied. But I want to see what happens when the danger is real. He pressed a button on the control panel. A hologram appeared showing a remote asteroid base used for special simulations. The map pulsed red. We will run another exercise, Virek announced. But this one will not be a simulation. It will look real, feel real. Let us see if they remain fearless when they think their lives are truly at risk. Lyra looked shocked. Commander, that's unethical. They won't know the truth. That's the point, Virek said. Fear cannot be measured when you know it's fake. The next morning, Captain Mason and his team were summoned again. The humans walked into the briefing room cheerful and relaxed. Rena and Click were already there, along with other alien cadets. The air felt different this time, tense and quiet. A new holographic officer appeared. Cadets, your next mission is to investigate a distress signal from Outpost 9 on asteroid Delta 47. Communication has been lost. This mission is not a simulation. The room went silent. Click blinked. Not a simulation? That is correct, the voice continued. This is a real emergency. There may be environmental hazards and possible hostile activity. Your objective: rescue survivors and secure data. Mason exchanged a glance with Lee. Well, he said calmly, guess the vacation's over. Within an hour, they were in a small transport shuttle flying toward the asteroid. Through the front window, the rocky surface came into view. A dead, gray landscape dotted with metal buildings. Smoke rose from one structure. Erin checked her scanner. No life signs on the surface, but strong radiation pockets. Stay close, the shuttle landed with a thud. The air outside was thin and cold. They moved carefully, weapons ready. The silence of the asteroid pressed on them like a weight. Rena whispered, Something feels wrong. Mason nodded. Good, stay alert. Feeling wrong keeps you alive. They moved through the outer corridor of the damaged base. Lights flickered. A low hum filled the air. Pieces of metal floated where gravity had failed. It looked like chaos, but controlled chaos. Inside one room, Erin found footprints. Fresh, she said. Someone or something still here. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the hall. Click jumped and aimed his weapon toward the sound. A shadow moved past the corridor. Contacts, Lee shouted, taking cover behind a crate. Figures appeared, metallic drones armed and moving fast. The team opened fire with stun rounds. The humans moved like a machine, calm and quick. Mason gave short, clear orders. Cover left. Erin, seal that door. Rena, flank them. The battle was short but intense. Sparks flew. Drones fell one by one. When the smoke cleared, the room was silent again. Click's hands shook. That was real, he said softly. Erin checked the wrecked drones. Training models, but upgraded, strange. Mason frowned. Feels staged. But let's finish the mission. They reached the command center where a glowing console waited. Data chips blinked inside. As Erin downloaded the files, Mason noticed something odd on the monitors. Hidden cameras everywhere. Someone's watching us, he said. Before anyone could react, a voice echoed through the speakers. Impressive, Captain. You truly are what they call DEATHWORLDers. It was Commander Viewership. The room fell silent. Mason looked up at the ceiling. This was no rescue mission, was it? No, Viewership's voice replied coldly. This was a test. We wanted to see if your courage holds when you believe death is real. Lee crossed his arms. And Viewership paused. You did not fail. But tell me, doesn't fear strike even once? You fight without panic, without hesitation. What kind of creatures are you? Mason smiled faintly. The kind that keeps standing. Even when the galaxy doubts them. Viewership's tone hardened. Perhaps that is what makes you dangerous. Mason stared at the speaker. Dangerous to who? Fear doesn't make us monsters. It makes us strong. Before Viewership could answer, the base lights flickered again. Alarms blared. Erin shouted, Radiation spike. The power core is unstable. Mason turned toward the console. Viewership, shut it down remotely. Static filled the line. Impossible, the commander replied. The system is locked, Lee muttered. So it's not a drill after all. The core's warning lights turned red. The asteroid began to shake. Rena panicked. We're trapped. Mason grabbed her arm. No, we're leaving now. The humans moved with speed and precision. They guided the aliens through collapsing corridors, dodging falling debris. Erin hacked open blast doors while Lee supported Click, whose leg was injured by a metal shard. Keep going, Mason shouted. We're almost there. The shaking grew worse. The sound of cracking rock filled the air. When they reached the exit hatch, the door jammed. Erin dropped her pack and started working on the manual controls. Systems fried. I'll have to force it. Click looked back in panic. The ceiling, it's breaking. Then stop looking at it and help. Erin snapped, pulling on the lever. Mason and Lee joined her. Together, they forced the hatch open just as part of the roof collapsed behind them. They stumbled into the open air, gasping. The shuttle was still intact. Everyone ran toward it. Mason helped Click inside, then turned to look back one last time. The entire base was glowing from within. Mason whispered softly. They wanted to see fear. I hope they saw courage instead. They took off moments before the explosion ripped through the asteroid, sending bright fragments into space. Hours later, back at the station, the humans walked into the debriefing room covered in dust but alive. Commander Viewership was waiting. He looked at them with unreadable eyes. You survived, he said simply. Mason crossed his arms. You planned all that, didn't you? You risked lives to test us. Viewership's feathers ruffled. No one was in true danger. The base was automated. Lee raised an eyebrow. The radiation? The explosion? Controlled, Viewership said. But you believed it was real and still you didn't break? Mason took a step forward. We don't break easy, Commander. Fear is natural. Giving up isn't. There was silence for a long moment. Finally, Dr. Lyra entered the room, her voice calm but firm. Enough, Commander, your test was reckless. But it proved something. She turned toward the humans. You didn't just show courage. You showed control, teamwork, and care for your allies. Even when you thought you were dying, you protected them. Rena and Click, standing behind Mason, nodded in agreement. Viereck lowered his gaze. Perhaps. I underestimated you, Mason smiled faintly. Most people do. That night, while the humans rested, the council reviewed the mission footage. In every frame, they saw something they couldn't explain. How the humans stayed calm in the fire. How they never abandoned each other. How they made others stronger simply by being there. One council member finally said, "Fear is our shield." But for them, fear is their tool. That's what makes them DEATHWORLDers. The room fell silent. Everyone understood that the humans weren't just brave, they were something rarer. They were unshakable. And somewhere deep in the station, as the stars passed quietly beyond the windows, Captain Mason sat alone, looking out at the galaxy. His expression was calm but thoughtful. They think being fearless makes us dangerous, he murmured to himself. They're wrong. He looked toward the stars and smiled faintly. It just makes us ready. The Galactic Coalition had never experienced anything like it. Weeks after the human team had completed the second test, whispers of their fearlessness spread beyond the training station. Some cadets admired the humans' skill and courage. Others grew uneasy, wondering what kind of being could face death calmly while the galaxy around them panicked. But the Council had bigger problems. On the edge of Coalition space, a massive asteroid field had shifted, blocking key shipping lanes. Worse, reports came of an unknown predator species, large, fast, and intelligent, attacking isolated mining stations. Panic spread quickly. Coalition fleets were too small and scattered to respond immediately. Commander Viereck paced in his office, feathers bristling. The humans have already proven themselves in drills, he muttered. Perhaps they are the only ones capable of handling this. Dr. Lyra, standing quietly beside him, frowned. They are cadets. They are not designed for large-scale operations. Viereck shook his head. Cadets? They are DEATHWORLDers. And DEATHWORLDers do not panic. Meanwhile, on the training station, Mason, Lee, and Aaron were unaware that the galaxy was about to demand their skills again. They were enjoying a quiet day, joking and laughing with Reyna and Click. This is too calm, Lee said, spinning a small metal cube between his fingers. I feel like something's about to happen. You always feel that way, Mason replied with a grin. Relax, enjoy it while it lasts, Aaron tapped on a tablet. The asteroid field near Orion Station has shifted. Ships are stranded, mining crews are trapped. This isn't a drill, Click looked alarmed. Not a drill again? Mason's eyes narrowed. Then it's time to work. They were briefed quickly in the command room. The holographic display showed the asteroid field. Massive rocks, tight passages, and signals from trapped miners blinking red. The predators had been spotted in the area. 3 massive creatures with intelligence unmatched by any known species. They could communicate, hunt in groups, and set traps. Reyna swallowed hard. That's impossible. Even full fleets have trouble with a single one. Mason studied the display calmly. Then we won't fight one. We'll fight smart. We'll save the miners and neutralize the predators using strategy, not brute force. Lee grinned. Sounds like a standard Tuesday to me. The team suited up, checking their gear carefully. For the first time, even some of the alien cadets felt a chill. The humans didn't show it. They were calm, focused, ready. The shuttle ride to the asteroid field was tense. Outside the window, jagged rocks floated like frozen monsters in space. Signals from the trapped miners blinked urgently. Aaron studied the display. The predators seem to patrol specific areas. They hunt in pairs and retreat when something unknown appears larger than them. Then we'll look bigger, Mason said. Everyone, stay close. Follow my lead. When they entered the field, the humans moved like a single organism. Mason pointed, Aaron calculated, Lee secured, and Reyna and Click followed, covering rear, even when a massive boulder suddenly rolled toward them. Mason grabbed Click and tossed him aside, then redirected the shuttle to avoid collision. Teamwork, Mason said casually. Always teamwork. As they neared the trapped miners, the predators noticed them. 2 of the massive creatures charged. Aliens screamed, scrambling for cover, but the humans did not panic. Mason issued short, clear orders. Deploy drones to the left. Aaron, cover the entrance. Lee, flank the second predator. The predators advanced, but the humans anticipated every move. The drones distracted the creatures, while Mason and Lee used light restraints to trap one without hurting it. Aaron guided the miners to a hidden passage through the asteroids, away from danger. Reyna whispered to Click, How can they be so calm? They aren't afraid at all. Click shook his head. They're different. Hours passed and the humans continued leading the miners safely through the asteroid field. One predator remained, larger and more cunning than the others. It hid among the rocks, waiting to strike. Mason studied the creature. It's smart. It's hunting us, but it doesn't understand our tactics. Let's teach it a lesson, Aaron nodded. I can lure it into the trap zone near the mining station. We can seal it there. Perfect, Mason said. Everyone stick to your positions. We move as one. The humans coordinated with astonishing speed. Aliens followed their lead, learning to act calmly instead of panicking. When the predator lunged, Mason anticipated its movements, dodging easily. Aaron drew it toward the trap, and Lee sealed the exit with a strong force field. The predator was contained. For the first time, the aliens realized something extraordinary. Humans did not just fight. They controlled the battlefield. Fearless, they taught others to survive as well. When the miners were safe and the predator contained, Mason finally allowed himself a small smile. Everyone did well, he said. Not just us, our team. That's what matters, Rena stared at him. You make danger. Look easy, Lee laughed. We're used to it. And we work together. That's the secret. Even the miners, terrified when the humans first arrived, began to understand. Courage was not about being unafraid. It was about moving forward, protecting others, and thinking clearly under pressure. Back at the training station, the council received reports. Commander Virek's expression was unreadable as he watched the footage of the humans leading the rescue. Dr. Lyra shook her head. It's impossible. They faced real danger, real predators, and yet they were calm the entire time. Their teamwork, their leadership, it's beyond anything we've ever seen. Virek remained silent for a moment. Not beyond anything. Just different. Humans are not like the rest of us. They do not fear in the same way. One council member leaned forward. Commander, if humans are like this in rescue operations, what happens in combat? What happens if they are in a war we cannot control? Virek sighed. Then the galaxy may have allies who are stronger than anyone imagined. Or enemies we cannot predict. That night, Mason, Lee, and Aaron sat in the quiet of their quarters. Outside the station, stars glimmered silently. Aaron looked at Mason. Do you think they'll trust us now? Mason shrugged. Trust? They fear us more than they trust. But that's fine. We don't need trust to survive. We need respect, and respect comes from action. Lee nodded. I like that. Fear is the fuel, but action is the fire. Rena entered carrying a datapad. Captain, the aliens. They're already telling everyone about you. They say humans don't feel fear. Mason smiled faintly. Good, let them talk. Words don't save lives. Actions do. Click, following Rena, whispered. I think the galaxy is finally learning what DEATHWORLDers can do. Mason looked out at the stars. They are, and they will never forget it. The next morning, reports came that the asteroid field had stabilized. The miners had been rescued. The predators contained, yet the council remained uneasy. Humans had proven themselves fearless in real danger. Commander Virek addressed the council privately. We cannot deny their value, but we must also understand them. Fearless beings are difficult to predict. Dr. Lyra nodded. Indeed, they do not act like any other species. We may study them further, but we cannot expect them to behave according to our rules. Virek's feathers bristled slightly. Perhaps the galaxy is about to learn that some rules do not apply to humans. That night, Mason returned to his quarters. He looked at the stars and thought of Earth, a planet that had forged his kind into something the galaxy did not understand. Danger was normal there, death was common, but survival had been learned as instinct, and now, in the wide galaxy, that instinct was changing everything. He whispered quietly, almost to himself. We do not fear. We survive, and one day everyone will see it. Aaron sat beside him. Do you think they'll ever understand us? Mason shook his head, smiling faintly. Maybe not. But they don't need to. They just need to remember one thing. Never underestimate a human. Outside, the stars passed silently, bearing witness to the arrival of a new kind of courage, one the galaxy had never known. Weeks had passed since the asteroid rescue mission. Word of the humans' abilities had spread through the coalition like wildfire. Whispers in corridors, speculation in council chambers, and debates in training halls, all focused on the same question. Who are these DEATHWORLDers? And how do they survive when everyone else fears? Captain Mason, Sergeant Lee, and Cadet Aaron returned to the training station with Rena, Click, and other cadets in tow. For the first time, the station felt tense, not because of drills, but because everyone now understood the humans were something beyond ordinary. In the council chamber, Commander Virek paced before a massive display. The holographic map showed unstable sectors, rogue predators, and disaster zones where fleets had failed to intervene. Coalition forces have struggled for decades, he said quietly. Yet these 3 humans, mere cadets, succeeded where trained fleets faltered. It cannot be ignored. Dr. Lyra leaned over a console. It's not just skill, Commander. It's their mindset. They manage fear, focus on survival, and act decisively. They don't panic, and they inspire those around them to act similarly. Virek paused. The galaxy has seen bravery before, but humans, they redefine it. Perhaps we underestimated the meaning of survival itself. Meanwhile, in the training hall, Mason's team walked among the cadets who watched in awe. Every movement by the humans was calm and precise. No one screamed at danger. No one froze. Even when drills simulated catastrophes, falling beams, smoke, alarms, humans led calmly, corrected mistakes, and guided others. Rena whispered to Click, "They don't just survive. They teach survival." Click nodded. "It's like watching someone dance with chaos itself." Mason noticed their admiration and smiled faintly. "Courage is contagious," he said. "You act first, then others follow." Aaron added softly, "Fear is normal. Action is better." The young cadets tried to imitate them, but quickly learned it was not easy. Even controlled panic is hard for most species, and humans had long since replaced panic with focus. Then, an urgent communication arrived. The outer sectors reported a massive rogue fleet attacking a trade corridor. Civilian transports were trapped, defense fleets overrun. It was a crisis no one could handle alone. Commander Virek spoke through the station's communication channels. "Captain Mason, your team is requested for immediate intervention. Your record shows you succeed where others fail. We need your guidance." Mason exchanged glances with Lee and Aaron. "Looks like Tuesday just became a very busy day," he said calmly. Aaron tapped her tablet. "They're expecting miracles." "We don't do miracles," Mason replied. "We do what's necessary. Let's go." The humans boarded their shuttle with cadets and allies from previous drills. Outside, the galaxy stretched vast and cold, littered with ships caught in the chaos of the rogue fleet. Massive explosions lit the darkness like fireworks, but humans did not flinch. Mason examined the display. "We don't fight their numbers head-on. We move fast, protect civilians, and neutralize key targets. Everyone stay sharp," Lee nodded. "Fast and clever. That's our style." The shuttle darted through debris, moving between destroyed ships, guiding the civilians toward safe corridors. Aliens on the team followed orders quickly, inspired by the humans' calm efficiency. As they reached the core of the rogue fleet, Mason saw something unusual. The enemy commanders were clever, coordinating multiple attacks. Most fleets would panic in this situation. Humans, they only adjusted faster. "Aaron, scan for weak points," Mason ordered. Aaron's fingers danced over her console. "There, their communication lines are partially exposed. If we disrupt them, their coordination collapses." "Perfect," Lee said. "Let's do it." Using drones and carefully targeted stuns, the humans disrupted the enemy's control network. Ships collided, engines misfired, and chaos spread through the rogue fleet. The humans guided civilian transports out while the enemy stumbled, unsure of how to respond. Rena, watching from the shuttle, whispered, "They're controlling chaos like it's a tool." Click nodded slowly. "Not a drill, not a battle. Something else entirely." Suddenly, a massive ship from the rogue fleet surged forward, targeting the civilians. Most cadets froze, unsure what to do. Mason did not hesitate. "Everyone, focus on the weak point," he shouted. "Lee, with me. Aaron, cover the civilians." The humans worked like one entity. Lee fired precise stuns at the ship's engines. Aaron rerouted energy to shields. And Mason guided the ship safely away from the civilians using daring maneuvers no one thought possible. Rena realized something profound. Humans did not simply react to danger, they anticipated it. They turned fear into strategy, panic into opportunity. Hours later, the rogue fleet had scattered. The civilians were safe. The galaxy had witnessed something remarkable. Humans had not just survived, they had led, inspired, and conquered situations others would call hopeless. Commander Virek addressed the Coalition fleet via holo communication. Report. The humans have acted beyond expectation. Their tactics calm and courage. They are unlike anything we have trained for. The galaxy must recognize their value. Dr. Lyra added softly. We studied fear for centuries. Humans taught us that fear is not a weakness, it can be mastered. And through that mastery, they protect more lives than anyone else could. Back on the training station, Mason, Lee, and Aaron returned quietly. The cadets surrounded them, eager to learn, to follow, to understand. Rena approached Mason. Captain, you've done more than survive. You've changed the way we see courage. Mason smiled faintly. Courage isn't about being unafraid. It's about acting, no matter what. That's something everyone can learn, Aaron added. And helping others always comes first. That's how humans survive as a species. Click's antennae twitched. I never realized. The galaxy needs this kind of bravery. Mason's gaze drifted to the stars. We didn't come to be legends. We came to survive, but if surviving inspires others, that's a good side effect. The council convened later that day. Virek and Lyra presented the report. The humans' actions were decisive, fearless, and inspiring. Not only did they protect lives, but they also taught other species how to act calmly under threat. This is more than courage. It is leadership on a scale the galaxy has never seen. A council elder spoke slowly, his voice thoughtful. If these humans are what they claim to be, they are no longer just cadets. They are examples. Perhaps the galaxy must rethink its understanding of danger, fear, and survival. Another elder nodded. Indeed, where humans go, hope follows. Where humans lead, others survive. Virek remained silent, staring at the star charts. He understood now. The galaxy was about to be forever changed by the DEATHWORLDers. That night, the humans stood on the observation deck, watching stars pass in silence. Mason turned to Lee and Aaron. We've done what we can for now. The rest is up to the galaxy to learn. Aaron smiled. Do you think they'll ever understand us completely? Mason shook his head. No, and that's fine. Understanding is not necessary. What matters is action. They will remember what we did. That's enough, Lee chuckled. Guess the galaxy finally knows why Earth is called a death world. Mason laughed softly. Not because it's deadly. Because it creates people who survive anything without losing themselves. Rena approached, looking at the humans with awe. I will never forget this day, humanity. You have shown us a new meaning of courage. Mason placed a hand on her shoulder. Remember this, courage is contagious. Fear is temporary. Action lasts forever. Click nodded silently, understanding fully now why humans were feared and respected across the stars. As the night stretched on, the station was quiet. Ships glimmered like diamonds in space. Somewhere out there, the galaxy would continue to face threats and dangers. But one thing had changed forever. Humans had proven that fear could be mastered, courage could be taught, and survival could be absolute. Captain Mason, Sergeant Lee, and Cadet Aaron stood on the deck, silhouettes against the stars. They were DEATHWORLDers, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again.